So we're in a series called The Names of God because throughout Scripture, we have these revelations that God has given us. These aren't things that we figured out. No theologian sat down and thought really hard. These have been revealed. They're gifts to us of going, hey, this is who I am. This is my character. This is who I want to be in your life. And so we're working through those. If you haven't been here for the last 2 weeks, we've already worked on two of them. The first one was El Shaddai. It's one of the oldest names of God. And we looked at it in the very first book of the Bible. It extends beyond that, but it really shows up in that first book in the stories of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Joseph, right? He is the all-sufficient one, the all-powerful one. He is the promise maker and the promise keeper. Even when we kind of lose our way, he stays the course. And those that trust in him, like Joseph, even though his life kind of went down into the dungeons, he sustained them through all that because he fulfills his promise. And then last week, we talked about Jehovah Shammah. It actually comes from the very end of the Old Testament. It's one of the last stories, one of the last names God reveals to us. It's through the prophet Ezekiel, through the whole history of Israel to the time that they were punished by God and sent away. Ezekiel was part of that group that was sent away into a foreign land, and he sat on the banks and wondered, God, where are you? Have you abandoned us? Is there any hope? Is there any future for us? Where are you? And through the course of his message, what he wrote in his book, one of the final words that were spoken when God said, yes, you have a hope and a future. I have a plan for you. There's going to be a restoration, and it's going to be life-giving. And that place, when I'm at work in that way, will be called Jehovah Shammah. The Lord is there. And so, these two serve as kind of a bookend. Two powerful concepts of God Almighty, his provision, his providence, as well as his personal connection, his work in our life. Now, the special thing about Jehovah Shammah is that usually on a lot of these names, we point back to something that happened and we see his character. Jehovah Shammah is actually a name that points forward. Ezekiel never saw it. You know who did? We do. We are living in the age of Jehovah Shammah. The Lord is there because it began with the coming of Jesus. Emmanuel, God is with us. And then as we accept Christ into our life, he puts his spirit in us. The Spirit of the Lord is here. He is with us. And he is working his transformation, his healing, and all of his power is here. So we live in the age of Jehovah Shammah. So all the other names that we are going to explore fit between these two and really embrace both of these ideas: his power, his provision, his promise, as well as his presence in our life, his work in our life. So today we're going to look at another one. It's called Jehovah Rapha, which means the Lord who heals you. Now, healing is kind of a controversial idea in the church. We have about the same type of spread. We've got people that are on the far end of this. They're like, man, God heals everything all the time, everywhere. In fact, I believe that God heals so much that you don't even bother going to doctor. Throw your medicine away even, God will sustain you. Don't worry about anything at all. At the far end, you got people that are going, well, maybe he did it at one time, but he certainly isn't doing much now. And you might even take it a step further going, I don't even know if all those healing stories really make sense or are true. I got a feeling they're probably exaggerated a little bit. I don't know that God's really in that business. I believe in science. We've got doctors in the hospitals. So even if he does heal, no thank you. I'll take some aspirin and call you in the morning, right? And then in between, we've got all different type of spaces. That's kind of where most of us are. We're kind of like, well, sort of. Yeah, I want to believe that God heals, but I don't know how or why. And there's questions about it. And why do some people get healed and some people don't get healed? And we kind of sort of want to ask for it, but we really don't expect it. There's kind of this wide variance. And so I'm not going to handle all of that. We're just kind of recognizing healing is kind of a tricky topic. And so that's why I want to kind of go back with each of these names and go back to the origin of it. When did God first talk about this? And I learned something this week. I didn't know this. I paid thousands of dollars for seminary education. They didn't teach me this, so I had to find out myself. I want a refund. I learned something. Healing is not even mentioned in that first book of the Bible. Remember over here, El Shaddai, Genesis, Abraham, healing is not even mentioned. Did you know that? I never realized that. Now, you might go, well, Sarah was healed to, she couldn't have a baby and then she did. Yes, that's true, but it's never spoken of as a healing. It was never asked for as a healing, and God never, when he did it, said, hey, I've healed you. It just kind of happened. God was at work. Kind of a similar thing to Rebecca. But healing is not part of any of the story in Genesis. It's not until they've gone down to Egypt and they live there for some time and become slaves. The Israelites become trapped in 400 years of slavery that God finally goes, I am going to fulfill my promise because I'm El Shaddai and I'm going to rescue my people out. And so he picks the servant Moses. If you've ever watched the Ten Commandments around Easter, right? He goes down and there's this clash between him and Pharaoh. Let my people go. No, I'm not going to let my people go. They're really good workers. And they work for cheap. And by cheap, I mean free, right? I'm not going to let them go. And so God brings down these plagues. And finally, Pharaoh says, yeah, all right, I'll let you go. You get out of here. The people go out from the land and they go to the Red Sea. And we have this great scene there where they're trapped by the waters. Pharaoh's bearing down. They're just slaves, women, children, all of them, carrying all that they have, right? And then they have a massive army coming to slaughter them. And they're like, what is going to happen? And so we have the cataclysmic moment when God splits the sea. No matter how you kind of imagine it, maybe it's as terrific as this, maybe it's a different scenario, but somehow God divides the sea so that they are able to run away and escape. But it's not just about running away. As they get on the other side, Pharaoh and the army pursue after them, and they come down the middle, and God's hand is pulled back, and the seas wash that army away. And in a moment, the entire battle is over. In fact, there really even wasn't a battle. God just kind of silenced it. So let me put it in modern day terms here. Imagine, back in, March, February, March, when we had all the rattling between Russia and Ukraine, and like, oh, nothing's going to happen. Then all of a sudden the invading force came in, and like everyday common people are like, oh my goodness, like they're shooting rockets at my apartment complex. Imagine if as they crossed the boundary, suddenly God did something, brought the waters and just kind of wiped out the Russian army. And okay, don't worry about it. I mean, that's the joy that they felt. They broke out into song. We can't believe this. Not only are we free, not only have we been rescued, like it's all over. There's no one else to pursue us. It's a grand moment. And so they break out into song. God's leading us to a new place where we can build double-decker houses with white picket fences. It's going to be great. Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl every year. It's wonderful. We just got to get there and hopefully find our new quarterback. These are the jokes, folks. And so they head out from this incredible moment. And it's 3 days into the desert that they've walked. Now, this is a large group of people. Some estimates go up. It may well have been 2 million people traveling. They're a big lot. Well, what is not in the desert? Water. They've been rescued with water, and now their biggest problem is they got no water. And after 3 days, they're coming up to Moses going, hey, you got a plan? My kids are thirsty. I'm thirsty. This is kind of a big deal. I can live a couple days without a Big Mac, but you take my bottle of water away, and I get really grouchy fast. And so they come to a river finally at last, and they're like, oh, at last, sweet relief, great. And they go down, they take a cup of it, and they drink a big gulp of it, and bitter, nasty water. Like, It's not even just kind of like that little bit of funky taste. It's like nasty. Like, no, it's not happening. I don't care how thirsty I am, not drinking that. In fact, it was so bitter, they went, you know what we're going to call this river? I bet you know what it is. What is it? Oh, come on, folks, wake up here. What do they call the river? Wow. His first service is starting to look a lot better. Bitter. They named it's Bitter River. All right. All right. So they've been out in the desert. They come to this water. It's bitter. And they're like, oh, this is terrible. They go to Moses. They complain. Moses turns and says, God, what are you doing? Can you help a fellow out? And God says, yeah, I think I can help a fellow out. And so on this kind of weird kind of a thing, he goes, Moses, take this stick and you're going to throw it into the water. And he does that. And instantly, the water is turned from bitter to this really satisfying, sweet water. And then people were like, oh, this is great, this is great. Problem solved, it's so wonderful. I mean, it's kind of weird. God did that to show his amazing power. No, that doesn't sound right, does it? Because if you could split the sea and then kill like one of the most powerful armies on the planet, this feels a little bit more like a party trick. Hey, let me throw something in the water. It turns purple. Isn't that neat? Right? Like, what's going on here? It feels a little bit like game playing. And so God says, here's the point. It sounds like me when we figured something out at the house with the kids going, okay, this is the way it's going to work from now on, right? Everyone is going to do their own dishes. No. He said, if you listen carefully to the Lord, your God, and do what is right in his eyes, if you pay attention to his commands and keep all of his decrees, so we got a lot of ifs in there, right? Very conditional. He says, I will not bring on you any of the diseases I brought on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. Huh? This is like the weirdest thing God has ever said. This line doesn't make any sense. You know, if you're going to teach about me being a healer, you probably should heal somebody, right? Like, nobody gets healed. There's nobody even with a broken foot. There's not a problem. What does God fix? The water. He doesn't bother with anybody. And yet he uses this moment to say, hey, remember, I'm the God that heals you. And then we got that whole funky thing of going, you know what? I'm not going to bring any diseases on you. Well, that would be a really good thing. If you're going to be my healer, let's not start out by you poisoning the water in the first place, right? Like, just really weird stuff going on here. How is this the start of God being the one who heals you? Well, let's unpack it here real quick. Even though no one is healed, the point is bigger than that. It's a recognition that the water was bitter. Because you know what was also bitter that day? If you drink nasty water, who else gets nasty? Right. The people got bitter. I can't believe this. I know you just did all this amazing stuff. We're free. You rescued us. You did all these really powerful miracles. But 3 days later, I'm about ready to die because I just simply don't have water. Where's my life going? I'm hopeless. I'm powerless. I can't take water out of the rock. I'm done. I don't care what you've done. They're at a point of bitterness. And I suspect that that's what God's point always was. If he had just healed somebody's broken foot, somebody would have gone, oh, that's a neat party trick too. But he was making a much larger point here, wasn't he? He's going, you are the ones that are bitter. And I am the one that has the ability to change that. It's more than just the water. It's more than just that you need water. It's more than just that you have things that kind of break down on your body, right? See, this is part of the thing that we get wrong about healing, at least in terms with God. We think of it like, in modern terms, like doctor and hospital. Hey, doctor, this thing's broken. What does he do? Well, let's see if we can oil can that up, and we'll tape this up. You'll do this physical therapy. All good stuff. Nothing in the Bible that says doctors aren't good. They're great people, glad for them, thankful for hospitals and all that. But they think of your body as a mechanism, as a machine. Well, this part doesn't work, let's fix that part. God's very clearly going, I'm not fixing machines. I'm not in that business. I can fix the machine. I can fix what's broken. But you know what? There's a whole lot more broken in you than just some broken parts. And we see this as this theme that begins here, talking about water, as it's unpacked through the rest of the Old Testament story, is going, God starts to heal, but now it means deeper and deeper things. And so yes, he heals diseases, he heals body parts, but we'll see in Scripture where he goes, he heals the brokenhearted, and he binds up their wounds. It's more than a broken part, because you know what? When you've hurt for a long time, when something's been broken for a long time, when you've gone to all of our modern medical sciences, the doctors and the hospitals, and they've run about 100,000 tests on you that cost about $100,000, and you have no answers, you know what you are? Bitter. I've been there. I've gone to the doctors and got no answers, and you're like, why do we have doctors? I don't know. I turned to Eileen one time and I was like, I'm thinking back through decades. I only can think of one thing they fixed. I showed up with a bad appendix and they took it out. They didn't even fix anything, really. All they did was take something out, right? I'm grateful for that. That was wonderful. But there's a whole bunch of other stuff I've gone, they're like, yeah, that's just going to hurt for a while. Thanks. Appreciate that. God goes, I'm more interested than just stuff, the parts. I'm interested inside of you. I get that there are broken pieces. There might be bitterness. There might be broken hearts, broken lives. He talks about, I will heal their backsliding. That means, kind of abandoning God, abandoning the right way. I've been taught what was right, and I go back on it. He says, I'm going to heal it because I will love them freely, which means there are no ifs. See how we started with a whole bunch of ifs? Now he's gotten to the place, you know what? I'm going to just love you anyways. I know what you are. I know how bitter you are. I know how rebellious you can be. And I know how that breaks you. You might not even see it as that, but I understand what really breaks you when you go your own way. I want to heal that. My anger's been turned away. I'm ready to work. Psalms 147 kind of puts it all together here. He forgives all your sins. That's the backsliding. That's going my own way. He heals my diseases. These two things are in parallel. Not that sins cause disease, but that God's going, look, you are a whole person, and I want to heal all of you. God could fix this every day of the week, twice on Tuesdays. And if that leads you to a place where God has no part in your life, you got the worst deal of all. That's not real healing. That's fixing a part. He's going, I want to fix body, soul, mind, heart. I want to be at work at all this. I'm the one who redeems your life from a pit. If you've not known somebody that is facing a major medical crisis, a deep one, like big, like cancer, or somebody that has to endure, it's not like killing them in the moment, but it's this long, slow thing, and it has robbed them. Man, that's a great word picture. I'm in a pit, and I can't get out. I redeem you from the pit. I crown you with love and compassion because you are more than just a mechanical thing to be fixed. I can do that too, but I want to do something so much more. I want to undo the bitterness in the water. Do you see that? Healing for God is way deeper. Sometimes we're just asking for a couple of aspirin. Can you make this stop hurting? Can you fix this so I can just kind of go on about my business? Yes, I can do that. But it's the business that I'm concerned about. So what about this other thing here? He even gets to the point where he goes, I will heal your land. It's a bigger picture than that. I don't have time for this. I'm going to move on. So what about that, the Pharaoh thing in Egypt? I'm not going to bring all those diseases. That seems like a really weird thing. Why would you do that? As I thought about it, I went, you know what? This is really about choice. Because if you're not familiar with the Pharaoh story, right? It's Moses and Pharaoh. It's like the WWF, man. It's the SmackDown thing. And Pharaoh says something, Moses says, let my people go. And Pharaoh says, no. And so he goes, here, I'm gonna bring this plague on you. Oh, okay. Nah, never mind. Here's another plague. No, they're going back and forth. Well, there's one about the frogs. It's great. God overruns the country with frogs. And finally Pharaoh goes, I've eaten all the frog legs I can devour. The impossible whopper just doesn't, can't be made of frog legs. Get them out of here. Leave so we can be rid of this. Here's the cool part of the story. Moses goes, great. I'm glad you finally agree with God and his plan for your life and our life. I will give you the honor of deciding when the frogs will leave. Okay, think about this. If you came to me and said, you know what, I got a broken leg, and I go, great, I can fix that. When would you like me to do that? When would you say? Now, right? Let's go. In one of the best lines in all the Bible. Why I love this book. You know what Pharaoh says? Tomorrow. What an idiot. Tomorrow? What? Why not now? Why does he want it now? Well, he's kind of hoping that the frogs go away on their own. If I give it another day, right? I struck a deal to solve it. But if I give it another day, maybe I don't have to give in to God. Maybe I don't have to have God as part of this story. Tomorrow. There's a lot of people, when it comes to healing and God, we go tomorrow for lots of different reasons. I don't believe in it. I only believe in science. Tomorrow, even though I'm hurting and this modern science isn't fixing me, tomorrow, I'm not sure that I really want to bother to ask God. Or you go, look at all the people that ask and don't get an answer. I don't want to be disappointed. Tomorrow, I know I'm all busted up, but tomorrow, we delay. We hope that there's another route. We want to go find an answer any other way but God. And he's going, remember who I am. I'm Jehovah Rapha. I'm the doorway that you're going to have to come through at some point. In contrast to Pharaoh, there's another healing story that's fantastic. It's of another foreigner who is a great military leader. It's Naaman. He actually has even attacked Israel. He's conquered some of those folks. He has a slave girl, a Hebrew slave girl. So it sounds a lot like Pharaoh. He had Hebrew slaves. He has a little slave girl. And he's this well-respected man, powerful warrior. He has one problem. He's got leprosy. We don't really relate to that, but it's nasty. Really bad, all right? We'd probably go, he has cancer. That would be equivalent. He's got a bad deal. Well, this slave girl goes, you know what your problem is? You're bitter. You need to be healed. Probably more than just the leprosy. You need the God of Israel. And there's a prophet. Why don't you go see him? I think he can help you out. Can you imagine that? I'm a powerful warrior. I've got all these men that listen to me, obey mine, and I got a slave girl telling me how to get the answer. I wonder how many times he went tomorrow. Eventually he went, all right, today. Let's do it today. And so he gathers up his men. I don't know what he was expecting. Like, he doesn't just go to the doctor. He doesn't go to the prophet. He has a whole troop that goes with him. And they, it describes like they're all, the hooves are pounding, the chariots are going. Like, it's a big to-do because he's powerful. He's important. And he rides up, not to the hospital. He rides up to Elisha's house, which is more like a hut. And he gets out and, I have come to get fixed here. Elisha looks out the window. Oh, is that what the problem is? Go down in the back creek and wash 7 times. You'll be fine. The back creek is nasty. Like they dump their waste in that river. It is not a place to wash. You probably want to take stuff out to wash it, not go there to wash. And so, like, Naaman is furious. Another great passage, so I don't want to tell you, I want you to read it, because this is how fun the Bible is. Listen to this. This is so real. Naaman went away angry and said, I thought for sure he'd come out to me, because I'm so important. He'd stand and he'd call on the name of the Lord. He'd wave his hands like there'd be some type of big to-do, maybe chant a little bit, shake something, and he'd cure me of my leprosy. I'm important, don't you know? This should be a big deal. Not somebody sticking out their head, go wash down the creek. We've got better rivers, cleaner waters that I could have done, if that's all it takes. And so he turned and he went off in a rage. I don't like the way that God does it. I don't like that he heals some people and he doesn't others. I don't agree to those terms. I'd rather just not have it. We find excuses all along. Luckily, he had brought some other people that said, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're walking away as a leper still. If he had said, do some mighty thing, go kill a giant, bring his head back, you'd easily go do that. Why can't you just simply go down and wash? And so Naaman relents, and I would say swallows his pride. And he takes himself down to this nasty river, and he doesn't wash once, but twice, 3, all the way up to 7 times, and he is healed. I don't know why. I don't know why 7. I don't know why he gets healed and others. He's not a good man. He owns a Hebrew slave. It doesn't feel like God kept all the ifs. He's willing to heal whoever. But the difference between him and Pharaoh was he went, I'm going to swallow my pride. I know what I need. I don't care what I have. I've got all this military might, but I can't even fix this one thing in my life. And he finally humbles himself and does it. And God goes, I can work with that. And so this foreign man that has his own religion comes out of the water and he says, I now know your God is real. I'm getting rid of everything else. This is the real stuff. I cannot explain to you how or why. I cannot answer to you the mystery of why some and some don't. Just as I cannot explain to you why there are many that go to our modern hospitals and get modern treatment, and some that are healed and some that are not. And there's doctors that can't tell you the same thing either. That's not to denigrate them. It's to recognize healing is a mystery, and it really ultimately belongs to God. You don't go to the doctor and he brings out his magic wand, right? And ooba-dooba-dooba. He goes, you got a broken leg. Here, I know exactly how to make that whole. No, he just sets it right and goes, your body knows what to do now. He works in partnership with his body that's designed to heal. That's all. Because God designed it. He's the healer. He was meant to make things right. I don't know why, but I know there's a choice to be made about asking. All of this tradition that starts all the way back in Exodus, gets built through the Old Testament, arrives in full force with Jesus. He believes it all. And he goes, in fact, I'm the ultimate healer. And we get incredible stories. I want to be in your life because God is here. Because God is El Shaddai. He will provide. He does it in ways that we've never, ever seen again. There's one story real quick that I love. It's towards the end of his ministry. And he's going through town, and it says he has this whole crowd of people. And there's a blind man that hears the ruckus. And he, hey, what's going on? And they're like, Jesus is coming through. And he's like, I've heard that guy. I heard he can fix things. And so he starts calling out, Jesus, Jesus. And everybody's like, don't bother him. Don't interrupt, this service with sick people. By the way, that's why the Argots aren't here. They're sick. I said, don't come to our healing service, please. Right? Just be quiet. Just stay home. Don't bother us with this. But it says, all the more he cried out, Jesus, Son of David, will you remember me? Will you have mercy on me? He wasn't saying tomorrow. Everybody else was saying tomorrow. He was going, today. The incredible thing in the story is Jesus is surrounded by this whole crowd, and he picks out that voice. He hears Bartimaeus. He said, who is that? Bring him to me. And so they go back to him and, hey, he's actually asking for you. It worked. And they bring him to Jesus, and they have this exchange. Jesus says, what do you want me to do for you? I just want to see. But it's more than just about the eyes. I want my life back. I want to be whole again. I want you to fix me. And Jesus says, okay. And he does it. I wish every story was like that. I wish every ask was yes and immediately. But God's not a vending machine, right? This doesn't give him a quarter and then he owes me a healing. He's still God. I don't get the mystery of it. I don't know why. There are a lot of other people that still need it. But Bartimaeus got it. You know why? Because he asked. He had no pride. He didn't listen to those that said, shut up, don't do this, tomorrow. He went, today, maybe today. So I can't give you a lot of answers about healing except to say it's a choice. It's a choice to say, God, you're my healer. I got some broken parts. Maybe I got some broken parts. I got broken parts in my family. Shoot, I got broken parts in the country, right? We've been broke for at least 2 years. And we call on him to bring healing into our life. And that's exactly what Jesus does. So, with all that I don't know, I want to invite you forward. We're going to have, the band's going to come and play a couple songs, so we've got time for this. Alice will be over here. I'm going to be over there. For you to just come forward and, whether it's a body part, whether it's a heart, whether it's mental, whatever it is. This is your time to say, God, I'm asking. I'm not demanding, but I'm asking. Because you're my healer, and I want you in my life. I need you in my life. I can't make it another day in this desert without any more water. And I want you to give me your living water. So I'm going to open with prayer here, and then we'll have that. Father, more than anything, these are your people, and I pray that they would open themselves. There's so many things that we kind of hide or we have doubts about and we don't want to speak of or we don't want to bring up. We want to avoid the disappointment or the frustration, or we just don't know, or maybe we're just too blasted prideful. Just refuse. But that right now, Holy Spirit, this would be your time and moment among us. Let your children know they can freely come before you. No ifs. Jesus hears their voice over the din of the crowd and says, bring that one to me. So, do your work. You are our healer.